soldiers are Shia Muslims, which with relatives that are tied into Hezbollah. So that's there's not a military solution in Lebanon. It's not a matter of saying, okay, we're going to restart the civil war and expand that. So Israel is once again caught by thinking that it can militarily change Lebanon, eliminate Hezbollah. Not going to happen. Get control of the government of Lebanon. Not going to happen. And so I did see a report before coming on with you that the Golani Brigade is withdrawing. They're taking a break. They're going on R&R, but they're essentially withdrawing from Lebanon. So we're starting to see that maybe this MOU that is supposed to be signed on Friday may actually have some teeth to it, because the Iranians are firm that it says immediate and permanent ceasefire, which effectively means Israel's got to pull out of southern Lebanon. And I think that's fully the expectation on the part of Iran and Hezbollah. So if that doesn't happen, then that unravels this agreement right off the start. That's why it doesn't even get it's stillborn. It's dead in the crib, so to speak. So, that's one thing we're monitoring this week, monitoring today. Is there any sign that the Israelis are moving out, or are they continuing to attack? And by tomorrow, they most definitely should be moving and disengaging. But I suspect that they won't do that because there's not political support in Israel for that move. And unless Donald Trump really pulls the plug on support for Israel, which is he has the power to do it, but I don't know if he has the political will to do it. I doubt he has the political will to do it. So that's why I call this agreement, this MOU, I call it the IOU MOU. We'll see. It's because it's not guaranteed that it's going to be signed, and we don't even have clarity yet on to look at what the document the United States has with the document Iran has. Let's see them both. Put them out there. Let's compare them side by side, because we're hearing different things from the United States side. As you mentioned, J.D. Vance is saying something completely different than what the Iranian version says. And whether it's, that Iran, U.S. says Iran can't charge tolls. Iran says, hell yes, we're charging tolls. They just don't use the word toll immediately. This withdrawal out of Lebanon, immediate, permanent. From the Iranian standpoint, that's what their document says. No sign the United States is enforcing that. $12 billion up front. And the United States says, oh, hell no. They don't get that up front. Immediate sanction relief. No. There's not immediate. There's got to be. So I said this is the two sides are just sort of engaged in self-delusion, I think. They tell themselves what they want to hear instead of stepping back and say, okay, what does it actually say and what's the other side actually doing?
Yeah. We've learned from both sides, J.D. Vance today and the Iran's foreign ministry spokesman, Ismail Baghai. He said the same thing, that they're going to release the document on Friday. As they sign it, they're going to release the document for everybody to see and to read the document. The points, 14 points in that MOU. And here is what he said, Iranian side said today about, according to the MOU, Iran will be responsible for managing passage through the Strait of Hormuz in coordination with Oman. Iran is not seeking to impose tolls. However, in return for navigation services, environmental protection, insurance, and other maritime services, Iran will collect the necessary fees. It seems, Larry, not only it's going to be in the hand of Iran and Oman, but they're willing or they're open to talk with other Arab nations, GCC countries in the region, in order to calm down the situation, to reduce the friction that exists among these countries. And this is the agenda on their part. If I'm not mistaken, in the first 60 days of the agreement, there would be no fee or there would be no toll in the Strait of Hormuz. If I'm not mistaken, it wasn't mentioned by
That's
one
what,
side.
again, that's confusing because 60 days they're not going to charge, but they say they are going to charge. So again, if Iran, I think frankly, if Iran has agreed to not charge for the first 60 days, they're insane. What haven't they learned a goddamn thing in the course of the last 2 years? You do not trust the United States. I mean, it's ridiculous. Make them pay. That is their leverage. That is Iran's leverage.
Still, I don't know. This is the rumor. I haven't heard it from the United States. I haven't heard it from the Iranian officials. None of them talk about it. The only thing that the Iranian side said today, it was that they're gonna charge the fee, and they're gonna decide about it between Iran and Oman, and that's not gonna be any other player. Let's see what is the outcome of that. But Larry, we had JD Vance talking, with MSNBC. He had an interview on MSNBC. He's talking, the way that he's talking about the deal, he's so optimistic. I don't know where does that come from. He says we have the connection. We are talking to the reformists, to the hardliners, to the right, to the middle. We have connection with all parts of the government in Iran, and the negotiation, the talks are happening. It's not, and he says that he's not talking about the back channels. He's talking about direct talks, direct negotiations between the two sides. I haven't seen any sort of evidence to support that. I think he's making things up.
Yeah, I agree. Let me put it this way: if it's true, then that's a welcome development. But the Iran's you got to have some clear benchmarks of what is going to happen on Friday. The minute they sign on Friday, does Israel magically withdraw from Lebanon? No, they got to be on their way out before then. The Iran, frankly, looking at this deal, overall, I think, the more I look at it, the more, and I'm basing this upon what Ismail Baghai said. It's a terrible deal. It doesn't serve Iran's interests. I mean, frankly, it's naive.
What did he say?
Well, he said the release of Iran's frozen assets, compensation for war damages are two key priorities. Of course they are. And the United States is committed to implementing them. Excuse me, but fuck that. What's the date? When? Specific that by Friday the United States is going to lift sanctions. But they don't do that. So, it goes on to say Iran considers access to assets a legal right and continues to firmly demand compensation for this unlawful war. Demand all you want. Put it in the specifics that Iran is submitting a bill for, say, $300 billion, and the United States agrees that will be funded and paid. You don't get that. Under this memorandum, the United States is obliged. How are they obliged? They're not obliged. They don't have a gun to their head yet. This says to lift all primary and secondary sanctions. It's like, for God's sake. Is the Iranian delegation really this damn naive? Oh, the United States promised, they're obliged. They're not obliged by anything. They have no obligation. There's not a legal obligation. You don't have their troops trapped where they're saying, okay, yeah, well, let our troops go and we'll give you these things. So that's what I say. This is The more these details come out, I think that one conservative member of the Iranian parliament, I think he's exactly right. I think, frankly, Arakchi probably ought to be removed from office over this.
Yeah. Yet we don't know exactly what's going on in that document, because if you look at what J.D. Vance just moments ago said on CNBC, he said that we don't have to give Iranians anything if they don't make the commitments that we want long term on the nuclear program.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you said. So I mean, there's.
I don't know what's the issue with the nuclear program. The nuclear program, they have just issued that's part of the MOU, if I'm not mistaken. Iran has declared that they're not pursuing nuclear weapons, and they're not going to produce it, buy it from somewhere else, and that's the whole point on the part of Iranians. So if that's not the issue, what else do they want from the Iranian side?
Yeah, surrender. That's what they want. They want surrender. This is the Iranian foreign ministry is really, they've been, I guess they're trying to accommodate the Pakistanis who've been pushing for this broad agreement, and there are no, just the language like where he keeps saying the United States is obligated to do this, or it's obligated to do that, or it's committed to do this. Okay, how are they obligated? All they've got is all you've got is their promise that we're going to do this, but they don't give a specific date and time for doing it. And it's like, didn't Iran learn anything under the JCPOA? They had all these promises and assurances there, and then when it was convenient for Trump, he just tore it up because it has no legal standing. This MOU has no legal standing. It's just a promise between two people to say, it's two different groups giving assurances to the other side. Oh yeah, we're serious about this. Well, one side is let me put it this way: one side is lying, and that's the United States.
Yeah. It seems upon signing the document on Friday, they're going to release half of Iranian frozen assets.
No, they're not. No, they're not. That's what the Iranians think is going to happen, but the United States has made it clear we're not releasing a goddamn thing.
I think there is a lot to be learned about this document.
That's why I said
a lot of questions.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I say that the United States needs to release its document. Iran needs to release its document. Let's put them side by side and see, do they say the same thing? I bet you they don't.
I suppose that they have the same document. They don't need to release it separately.
No,
my understanding is that if they sign it, it's going to be a unique document. It's not going to be different, two versions of.
But you're not understanding me. What I'm telling you is right now they're claiming they have an agreement.
Yeah.
But they don't have the same documents.
Yeah.
So each side thinks, oh, I got agreement on this. And like Iran, oh, we're going to get $12 billion up front. And the United States is saying, hell no, they're not getting $12 billion. They can go pound sand. That's not going to happen. So that's still being worked out. That's why I say this. I think this thing will be derailed by Friday.
Could be. Israel is just doing everything. Smotrich just moments ago, he said that they have never experienced such pressure, international pressure on Israel, basically on Benjamin Netanyahu. This is the new level of pressure on Israelis. And J.D. Vance in the interview said that Israel has to come to the table. It means that I don't know how serious is that. Let's see what would happen. I think J.D. Vance, his record is not positive. Look at what J.D. Vance said so far
Yeah, but look, Donald Trump does hold the power over Israel if he is willing to use it. And the big issue is he willing to use it? Israel depends right now on U.S. air refuelers in order to carry out strikes on Iran. So if Israel wants to re-engage and attack Iran, they need U.S. air refuelers. Now, without that, they can't. So Trump has it in his power to say, okay, we're calling all those back. We're ordering all U.S. assets to return immediately to the United States. That would send one message to Israel.
Yeah. Here is JD Vance. We are extending an open hand to Iran. If they want to change their relationship with us, we will change our relationship with Iran. And I think it's too far to say that, because you're fighting. You basically are fighting each other right now. You have some sort of document, a new sort of understanding, memorandum of understanding, and you're talking about far away from the point that you are at right now. And the other point in what JD Vance said, that I think there are elements, he says, within Israel that like the deal quite a bit. I think this is a total lie. Have you seen anything coming out of Israel that somebody or some people, some factions within the Israeli government or Israeli society who are important among the decision makers in Israel that are happy with the deal?
Well, I don't know. Have you seen any evidence whatsoever?
No, I
Yeah.
haven't seen.
Yeah, there's nobody in Israel happy with this deal at all. So that raises the next question: that Israel, left to its own, if it can rely upon U.S. support, it's going to do whatever it wants. But it looks like Trump was mad enough that he may have forced the issue. So we'll see. I said, Trump. The Israelis do not have KC-135s. I checked that. I thought they did, and I started researching it last night. I was shocked to discover they don't. So they use an older variant of. They do have air refuelers, but they don't have the fleet that the United States has. And frankly, those planes that had been based forward at Prince Saud Air Base is one of the major refueling stops. Now. But Israel in the future, they're not going to have permission to overfly Saudi Arabia. So if they want to attack Iran, they're going to have to fly over Syria and over Iraq and over Jordan. If Iraq had air defense systems worth a damn, then Israel wouldn't be able to overfly that. But Iraq doesn't. So Israel just ignores them and keeps flying.
Yeah, I think the GCC countries are happy right now, because if the strait is working, if there is no blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, outside of the Strait of Hormuz, they're going to be able to export more energy, oil, whatever they have. But you remember the damage that has been done during the war. It may take time for them to.
Oh no! Wait a second. It's don't say may take time. It is going to take time. There is physical damage to oil wells, and especially in Qatar to the liquid natural gas facility, that some say is going to take a year to repair. And if that takes a year to repair, that means the whole issue of helium production, man, that's out the door. So right away, you're 10% down in liquid natural gas, 44% of the world's helium not coming out of the Gulf right now. So even if the Gulf is opened on Friday, unrestricted traffic, number one, you got all these ships that have been sitting there for 3 months. They've got barnacle buildup. They're not ready to go back to sea. They're going to have to be serviced. what was that? 200. I've heard as high as 1,000 ships, and some say it's just 200. But it's a large number of ships that are going to have to get serviced before they can even begin to go out back to sea. Then the damage. I don't think we've got a good, accurate assessment of the damage to the oil wells. How much can actually be pumped? How much can actually be put on board ships? And then once you get it on the ship, you're looking at anywhere from, I guess, the soonest it can get to a location might be a month. And in other cases, it could be 2 to 3 months. Those ships will be at sea heading for their destination. So all this euphoria about, oh boy, the economy is going to turn around, like Trump says. It's not. And that reality is going to hit at some point. They keep pretending like, oh yeah, this is the relief, the oil shortage is gone. No, it's not. And I'm increasingly frustrated with what I see as just this insanity.
J.D. Vance was asked, what is the Gulf Coalition saying about Trump's peace deal? He said they love it because they see it as an opportunity to build and create a new Middle East. I think that's totally dependent on what Israel is doing in Lebanon and in Gaza. You cannot ignore what's going on. Do you think, Larry, you've mentioned the limitations of the Israelis if they decide to attack Iran with the refueling tankers, all of that complexity, not only the offensive part, but in terms of their capability, air defense system, they have their sort of problems. And what is the solution? Today I talked with Colonel Jacques. He says the only solution to what Israel is doing is a total defeat by Iranians.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, there's no halfway mark. Israel's going to have to lose. And that's, not going to make the Israelis happy, but their entire ethnogenocidal project is going to have to come to an end. That right now the Ben Gavir's and Smotrich attitude to exterminate the Palestinians and anybody else who's not Jewish. That's why they're threatening Turkey. That's not an idle threat either, and that's not coming from Ben Gavir. Good God, it came from was it Naftali, the former, is either Bennett or Naftali, one of those guys. So someone considered somewhat mainstream, threatening Turkey. You can't. This is just crazy talk. You can't make that up.
J.D. Vance describes the agreement as, he says, it's fundamentally built around a two-step verification process. We say to the Iranians, you are welcome to have access to an unsanctioned economy. You're welcome to be reinvited into the world economy, but only if you honor the commitments that you make in this agreement. To be honest, I see no commitment in this agreement for Iranians. I don't know, other than Iranian nuclear program, what are the commitments? And because in terms of the Strait of Hormuz, it seems that the Israeli attack on Lebanon and the Iranian response, Iranian retaliation, somehow forced the Trump administration to put that line about the Strait of Hormuz, to put that line about Lebanon in the MOU, as it was mentioned last night by Professor Marandi. That's my understanding. But the commitment that he keeps talking about, it's all about nuclear program. The enrichment, I think zero enrichment is just not the case anymore. They're not going to accept it. And the United States has somehow agreed on. And it's going to be the level of enrichment and the nuclear program, the production of nuclear bombs. That's the whole commitment on the part of Iranians. What else do they want from Iran in terms of commitments?
Yeah, no, well, that's why I said we don't know. It's nothing spelled out. Again, Iran has released a document saying, okay, this is what we've agreed to. U.S. hasn't. So until the United States releases a document, all we're doing is, wasting time speculating. We don't know. All we can do is go off we got what J.D. Vance has said. We've got anonymous U.S. government officials saying the exact 180-degree opposite from what Iran is saying. Someone's lying. Real simple. Like Bagay said, the release of Iran's frozen assets and compensation for war damages are two key economic priorities, and that the U.S. is committed to implementing them. Okay, when? Now, immediately, up front? 60 days from now? 90 days from now? Next year? Yeah, this is where you're going to do this kind of agreement. Spell this stuff out